Hi, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. One of the things which I see over and over right now is the subject of bullying. And the experience that I had when I was in the UK with my son Paul, the experience that I had then was that he came home and he'd been acting a little bit distant, as if he did have something on his mind. Well, I sat down with him and I finally went to the obvious thing. If he didn't, he had always enjoyed going to school, and now suddenly there's something that's not quite right there. So we get the shoehorn out and we shoehorn it out of him that he's being bullied. So it turns out, I know there's nothing new about kids bullying each other at school. So I said, tell me, so what happens? The kid comes up and he's probably got two friends with him, and then he starts pushing, right? And Paul said, yes, that's right. So he starts getting right in your face like this and saying, so what are you going to do about it? And then pushing, and then this. And Paul admitted, yeah. So I said, when you come home from school tonight, I'm going to show you how to find your defense. Now, before you start thinking that I'm some great fighter, it's not true. But for 2 years, Paul and I had been going to martial arts, and we've been training in a style called Kyokushinkai, which is full contact. It's not what they call clicker. So you actually learn to take a blow, because when you do the sparring, you learn to take a blow and you learn to take a knockdown, and you learn a lot more. You learn to give a punch, and you learn the various different methods of defense. Now, I was never a Bruce Lee, believe me. I learned to take care of myself to a large degree when I did 8 years in the British Army. But Paul was talented. In later life, he actually went on to win gold medals at the open freestyle in Miami at one point in his life. But then back then he was a kid, but he was talented. He was fast. He could hit. He could take a hit, and yet I'm saying to him, how can you be bullied? Because you would be able to take on any three bullies who, by definition, will actually not expect you to be returning the force of their threats. So I said, when you come home, we're going to help you to find your ability to defend yourself. And in between time, while he was at school, I took the handle of a broom. Handle of a broom is 4 feet long, and I wrapped the broom with newspaper, and I padded the end so that it was like a boxing glove, and then I pulled a sock over it and taped it. So when he came home, I said, come on, let's help you to find your defense. Now, I have to warn you, son, that I'm going to hit you. You're going to take a blow. So, defend yourself. And so, I held up the broom, like so. And I went like this. So, he is seeing this come toward him. So it's this and this. Now, as soon as he realized that I was serious and that I was going to bang him, even though it was with a sock, a padded sock. He would have known about it. As soon as he got that, I could not touch that kid. And it was all like that. And his natural ability came through. So I said, now, what's the latest on the bullying? He said, they've told me that they're going to wait for me tomorrow. 3 of them. They're going to wait for me. And when I get out from school, they're going to get me. So I said, right, here's what we're going to do. Tomorrow, I'm going to be at school. I'm going to be outside school, but I'm not going to recognize you and you're not going to recognize me. And when those 3 kids come out and start bullying you, I'm going to grab 2 of them by the scruff of the neck and I'm going to hold them while you have a fair one-on-one confrontation with the biggest. And then, when you've sorted him out, I'll let the other 2 go, but probably they'll run away. So he said, okay. Now, something happened in the psyche of these kids that he changed. And the way that he was different. So when he went in, he was changed. Because now he knew that this was comeuppance coming for them. And all of the suffering, the bullying that he'd had, was about to be paid for. What's the saying? Karma's a bitch. They never ever troubled him again. Now the postscript on that, the end of that story, is something that he told me when he came to visit me out in Florida, and we were talking about him and his karate, because he kept it up and is actually somebody that if ever I was going to be threatened by anybody, I'd like to have him standing behind me. And I said to him, I'm curious, this is a kind of latent conversation that fathers and sons often have when the son becomes an adult. And I said, do you remember that time that you were being bullied? And when you came home, and the pole and everything. I said, did that help? And he said, yes, it did actually. He said, and I got to tell you that when I left school, I was actually walking down the road when those 3 approached on the other side of the road. He said, and I crossed. And he said, I said to the big one, you remember me? And he sorted them out. So, what's the saying? Revenge is served cold. Did you see Goodwill Standing, a movie where that's what happened, and later a bully was sorted out by Will. Anyway, bullying is one of those things that has to be faced up. And at the moment, we've got a situation, haven't we, where one country has been bullying another by going behind the back, by doing all kinds of underhand things. And then when the one who is being threatened all the time, who is well able to take care of himself, like my son Paul, and has delivered a bloody nose, everybody's up in arms suddenly. Well, that's not fair, that's not right, it should have. One elderly stateswoman has actually said, that should never have happened, and we should have extended diplomacy and just told Iran to stop its violence. Oh heavens, I can just imagine that message going through and being received in Iran, and their fighters coming in and speaking to the Ayatollah and saying, "Master, what will we do? We've been told not to be violent, so what can we do?" Yeah, I'm sure. This is a foreigner in the Philippines. Thanks for being with me.